We're here at a bike festival. This one is the Malvern Hills Classic. And as you can see behind me, there are loads of stands loaded with tech. We are going to go around and find all the coolest stuff. I'm going to go that way first. So just hanging out with a TF Tuned crew. So you might be familiar with TF Tuned shocks. They've recently helped out Anna in a hardtail project video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's gonna be a link to that down there. Really cool stuff. She also got a fork off Neil that had been absolutely abused and they brought it back to life. Anyhow, TF Tuned, they know everything about suspension, and this is Greg's bike. So Greg is one of the technicians there, and of course, they have the trickiest stuff. So this is a Kingdom Void titanium frame. Additive manufactured components on here for trickness, but just because, also to tune the sort of ride qualities of the bike. So titanium, you have to mix it with different other alloys to basically get the stiffness required, because titanium on its own can be quite flexible. They can tune the ride qualities of the bike by having this big lug down here, and it's absolutely beautiful in terms of construction. 135mm travel on the rear, 150 on the front there with that the Intend edge fork. I nearly got that one wrong. He's also got the Zip 3-moto wheels. So these are the ones that got ankle flex. They're a single skin design. They're designed to flex. Well, we're here at the Malverns, kids having fun on bikes, all good. Push 11.6 shock, bike yoke, seat posts on there, access components, running the GX, Eagle access, the radio on the back. Now this fork, I've not actually got to feel one on a bike yet. So I've spoken to Cornelius from Intend previously, saw him at Eurobike earlier this year, and he's been dead keen to get me on a fork, and now you can get these forks from TF Tuned. They haven't got a specific retail price. You're talking somewhere between 1,500 and 2 grand at the moment. Best protocol would be to get in touch with them and they can run you through the range. But I've not felt a fork that feels that plush. I'm not sure ever. It feels incredible, and Greg has kindly offered to let me have a go on his bike, but it's a bit small, so I might see if I can borrow his fork. What do you reckon? Would you like to know a bit more about the inverted fork design? And what do you think of that bike? That is 100% super nice. Absolutely ridiculously trick. Obviously, I didn't mention the cranks, so it's also got titanium cranks. So they're the E-Wings cranks from Cane Creek, which I reckon they're probably one of the, no, they've got to be the nicest cranks you can get, aren't they? Titanium cranks, beautiful. But the less we say about that chainring, the better. Oval chainring. Jury is out for me, but I'm sure there's a load of you that love them. So let us know down there who likes oval chainrings and why. What do they do for you? So something that's not often discussed are forks like the Domain. So of course we know about the Zeb and we know how good that is, but these are a fraction of the price. So retail price, you're talking in the UK about 550 quid. I think TF Tuned actually are shifting these at the moment about 450. Love it, cheeky little one. So they're available up to 180mm travel, and what you probably don't realise is just how good they feel. So these ones belong to Greg from TF Tuned, and he's not really done anything to them. He's just pulled them apart, made sure he's got the right amount of lube in that he likes, and they feel incredible. You don't need to have really expensive suspension for it to work really well. Just want to draw attention to that. And also the chainring that we're not allowed to talk about that's on the bike, that's definitely not made by Muck-Off, that you can see there, that definitely doesn't have a feature in it that enables you to lube the chain on your e-bike. More info on that soon, I think. Pembrey components. Everything about these is made in the UK. So for us, that's a really cool thing, because you don't often see this level of manufacturing coming from the UK. Making these lovely seat collars, amazing pedals, these are absolutely beautiful, and a brand new stem. Now, this is a particularly cool thing. Yeah, it's just a seat collar, but the whole point of this is to avoid pinching dropper posts. So apparently, one of the warranty problems you get with drop posts is people over tighten the seat collar, because certain designs of collar, essentially, when you tighten it, you get a stress point because it actually almost overlies. By using these special captive nuts, basically the bolt stays completely straight, so you've got even tension all the way around when you're closing this around your seat post. So in theory, should help resist that problem. Something else that's very cool is the aluminium they're using is 79% recycled alloy when they start using it. So I've never heard of that, basically. I think that's a really, really cool stat. They've also got this beautiful new stem. Look at the stem, so you lock it closed at the top there, you adjust it from the bottom. Just a lovely, beautiful feature. And it's got Torx T25 fittings on the stainless hardware, again, all made in the UK. It's just lovely to appreciate the manufacturing. And you also probably notice the Pembrey Stanton frame is hanging from another UK company. Pretty cool to see, almost a fairly UK spec style bike, obviously running aftermarket suspension that, but nice stuff. One of the coolest things about being at a bike festival is seeing the sheer amount of kids that are getting into riding mountain bikes. I absolutely love this stuff. This is a little orange peeler. One of the coolest looking little kid strider style bikes, so you just run along and hop on. The foot plate on here has even got the skateboard grip tape on it with the orange logo on it. Love it. How cool is that? Crank Brothers Mallet Enduro pedals, one of my favourites. Just noticed they're doing these really, really cool paint flicker colour on them. What do you reckon? Which one would you have? Blue or green? I reckon I might have those in my Spectral. Oh. Antelope Bikes are a company from Poland. They're handmade bikes. Steve Jones over at GMBN can't say enough good things about the dark matter downhill bike they have. This one is their Enduro frame, it's a carbon jack. They've also got a trail frame, which you can have a look at in a minute. 155mm travel on the back, running 160 on the front. It's got a linkage design. You can see if I flip the bike around and set the compressors of shock from top and bottom. It's got a really, really neat and tidy mud guard, like a fender built in, just to stop the mud gathering around the shock there. And the finish on the frame is just outstanding. And I've said this before on the show when we've been sent high-res images, but I didn't realise quite how beautiful this is in the flesh. You know, carbon frame, sometimes you want a nice paint job on a bike, other times you want to see that raw carbon, and I'm not sure I've seen a finish as good as that. Absolutely outstanding. We'll have a quick look at the trail bike as well, so that's running 135 back in, so that's right up my street. But this one is just absolute knockout. I had to show you this. What do you reckon? This sort of handmade beauty does come at a price though. You're talking about $4,000 for the frame. I'm not sure on the complete build as we see here, but I've got to say, like, $4,000 for frame is up there with Atherton bikes and other high-end bikes. But man, that is just seriously, seriously beautiful. So this is the trail version. This one's called the Wood Sprite. So it's kind of the bike I'd probably pick. So you're running 135 on the back end there, 150 fork. Again, similar options in terms of geometry and sizing. That one has 65-degree head angle, it's got 65.5. Around 67, I think, on the seat angle, he said. 4 sizes, ranging from small through to XL. The XL size is topping out around 505mm reach. I have not got a geometry chart to double check that. Back end looks similar at a glance, but a few little configurations that have changed. So the shock is not floating like the other design. It doesn't have the additional linkage at the bottom there. Single pivot design using what looks like a split pivot style system at the rear there to sort of decouple the brake from the system, and a linkage to drive that shock. Same unbelievably nice finish on there. Well, I've got to say, I reckon that one's just got the edge. That dark matter, that is something special, I think. You may or may not be aware, GT bikes are 50 years old this year, and we knew they were going to do some special stuff. Have a look at some of these paint jobs. So they're really famous for having 2 major paint jobs on team bikes back in the day. This one is the Team Scream finish. You might have seen this on their Lycra jerseys back in the day. And what you can see behind me on the crack around there was the Tequila Sunrise. Just both awesome looking retro bikes, and look at the nod to the future here. So you've got the good times on the top tube there. Obviously that one's an e-bike, running the E-system on there. It's a Force amp. I just love this sort of retro versus modern thing. I can't not talk a little bit about the old bike. So this one's the Cyclone, running the classic triple triangle design, Onza bar ends on there, XTR, Mag 21. I think they're the SL ties on there. So that's a very expensive old school rear fork. Beautiful condition bike. Don't really know what else to say. It's lovely. Right, let's move over to here. And you got this one, and look at the U-brake on the back. So way before we had disc brakes, before that we had V-brakes, before that we had cantilever brakes, and then at the same time as cantilever brakes, like you can see on the front, you'd occasionally see U-brakes, which were immensely powerful. Be riding in the UK or anywhere in the Northern Hemisphere, loads of mud, and it would clog up to the degree that your wheel would stop moving. Thank God we don't do that anymore, I'll tell you that. Classic Panaracer smoke and dark tyres, awesome paint finish. I absolutely think it's great. Shimano Dior DX rear derailleur. In my opinion, that is the nicest looking derailleur of all time. Absolutely loved those back in the day. And then you got this Windmasters 4. So this one has been ridden and raced at EWS rounds. Look at the difference. Look where we've come from and look where we are today. Love this stuff. That is a serious weapon. High pivot bike, idler wheel. Looks like a custom linkage on there as well. It doesn't look like a stock one. So whether that's to tune the feel of the shock or deliver more travel, maybe, not quite sure. It could also be to do with running the mixed wheel size that you see on the bike. Interesting stuff. So one of the really cool things about the Malverns this year is there's loads of adaptive mountain bikers here. So we've seen the Bowheads, obviously Martin's riding in, but this is Noel on basically a homemade creation. This thing is wild. Can you give us a quick rundown on the specs of your bike? It's unreal.
Well, it's first full suspension carbon fiber adaptive mountain bike. I helped to design the bike. I worked with a company in Spain called Carbon Master. They helped me to build it. But we put maybe go over the drivetrain and brakes. I've got Hope hydraulic brakes on there with the duo lever. It allows me to skid steer the rear wheels.
So it's independent braking on the rear.
So, you know, when you're cornering, for you and anyone on a regular bike, you're able to like get the back of the bike out a bit easier. This allows me to corner a bit quicker because These bikes are longer.
You can turn it in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can turn in a bit sooner. You can turn a bit quicker. Those kinds of things. Then an AXS shifter and derailleur as well to get away from cables and all that mess that goes with that. Using the SR Suntour 3CR shocks, which I found bulletproof. Really, really, really reliable and no problems with.
How much travel is that delivering at the axle on the front?
200 mils at the front, which is ridiculous because my feet are off up here at full extension.
Yeah.
And then at the rear it's about 180. It's not as much, but it's still plenty. Like, I mean, it's...
That's a serious travel bike for... I mean, it looks like you might have scuffed out sort of the underbelly of the bike a few times as well.
Plenty of that. Sliding over squirrel catchers and going places I shouldn't go. But, you know, that's the joy of doing this, isn't it?
Thank you for your time. Just check out a bike. It's unreal. I think I'd like to do a bike check with stuff like this because there's just so much to talk about. We can't fit in a short video like this. But pleasure to meet you. Yeah. If I've got the time, I'll be up there watching and heckling when you're racing.
Yeah. Well, you can laugh at me because, like I said, the bowheads will be gone and I'll just be poodling down the hill. But we'll see how we go.
It's about taking part. That's what this whole event is for. So thank you. Take care.
Yeah, thank you.
Check this out, the original Nukeproof Mega. So this is where things all started. Quite simply built to handle the Mega Avalanche, which, to be fair, was an event almost entirely owned by the French riders and racers until bikes like this started coming around. And then everything expanded, bike tech moved on. The early bikes, so 150 on the rear, anything up to a 180 fork on the front it could accept. 26-inch wheels, of course. It still looks good, you know. I bet it still rides pretty well as well, considering. Just nice to see that compared to where they are now. The bike's looking much more futuristic. Over here, though, is something I've got my eye on. So they've got loads of good stuff at the moment. That's their new dirt jump bike. Anna talked about that on the show recently. The little Cub Scout. This thing is so good. I can't even fathom what it must be like being a kid these days with access to bikes like this. Bikes weren't even 24-inch wheel bikes, were just awful when I used to ride them. And kids now, like, the progression is unbelievable. There's kids here doing airbag jumps on things like this. It's unreal. So the kids are the future of the sport. So we've got to give them stuff like this. And that, with those little Manitou forks on there, that's one of the coolest ones I've seen. Onwards, I think. So every now and then you find a random cleaning brand or a cleaner product making something that's genuinely different, and G-Technic is one of them. So think of them more as like a detailing company. So what we're familiar with in the bike world is bike cleaning products that do a good job of cleaning your bike. No problem with that. But in the car world, you'll find there's shampoos and there's more detailed products. So they've got a whole range of stuff behind me. But one of the ones that I wanted to talk to you about is their ceramic coating. So this is a ceramic finish that you can spray onto your bike and it will last 2 years. So that's 2 years of dirt and water repellency off your bike, stopping stuff gathering on there. Now this stuff, you can use it on satin frames, on matte frames and gloss frames. It doesn't affect the way your bike looks. There's even a bike here that's got an Invisiframe kit on it that's even running it. 2 years this lasts. Costs about 55 quid. I can't tell you much more than that because I've not tried it, but I'm definitely keen to see it. So they've shown us some videos of like basically throwing filthy mud and water and stuff against the board that's been treated with this stuff, and it literally repels it. And if they say it lasts 2 years, that is astonishing. Cool brand, I think. Check them out. Have you ever experienced problems when you're climbing and you can't get your weight quite in the right place? Well, you might have seen people running their saddle quite tipped down. Now that's a really efficient position to be in on steep climbs, especially if your bike perhaps isn't that modern, hasn't got a really steep seat angle. Yeah, so the idea is basically dipping the nose to compensate for what the bike is doing getting up the hill. Problem is, it doesn't feel very nice when you're descending or on the flat. Now this company called Anomaly make a product called the Switch Grade. This particular model is on a bike yoke seat post here. So look at the clamp at the top here, and it's got a 3-position setup, basically. It's absolute genius. So you've got your flat position for your regular riding, you've got your steep climbing, so think of like winch and plummet style riding, and then for downhill, getting that nose up so you can pinch it between your knees for stability. That is a wicked product. That's genuinely really cool. Reminds me of what Specialized did with one of their dropper posts for a while, which sadly I no longer did it. I think they had issues that it automatically did it as you drop the post. But that, you're going to be able to get these to fit all the different seat posts on the market. Haven't got a retail price for you just yet, but look out for it. Anomaly products, very cool. Okay, so a bunch of products here just to remind you about, and also something quite cool to show you. So firstly, the old Rev grips. You probably saw me talk about these probably 3 Celsius ago when I first discovered these. The grips essentially rotate slightly. So if you suffer from arm pump or anything like that, these could be a really good thing for you to check out. You can vary the amount of movement you have in them, and it might sound weird to you having that movement, but genuinely it feels really, really good on the trail. Fast bars, the flex bar, so a bar with suspension built into it. Of course, that's not going to be for everyone, but the rider of this particular bike that imports them, he says this is the single biggest product he's ridden since the drop post. That says a lot. Anyway, the stem, also made by the same company as the grips, by Rev Components. It's got a bell built into the design here. So you might have heard of a product called a timber bell. It's designed basically to alert bears and wildlife of your presence. And it has a little button you can pull up the toggle so it doesn't make the noise. Basically, it doesn't rattle. And when you need it to make noise, you press a button and it does it. Problem is, it doesn't fit on all bikes. They've got one built into the stem here. So as it is at the moment, no noise. And you lock it and you can can't get it to make noise. I know, it's on the inside there. There we go. Rattly, rattly, built into stem. Close it, makes no noise. It's just a mega nice, neat stem. Obviously, don't need anything like that in the UK, but if you live in Canada or anywhere where there's dangerous wildlife, it could be a product for you. Well, there we go. That was a whole bunch of cool tech from the Malvern Classic 2022. I'd love to know what you think is the coolest thing down there. Definitely a few things today that surprised me, and some that made me question things as well. So let us know what you think down there. In the meantime, I'm off with my clear magic stick to go and shoot some retro bikes for a retro video. Keep an eye for that one on GMBN Tech soon. See you later.